So now let's look at how to deploy our Android application. I've gone to this site, the market.android.com/publish. And this is where you would go to sign up for your Android Market account and to upload your app when you're done with it. So I'm going to show you first what it looks like if you're creating a new account. You would just sign in with your Google ID, and I've got one here that I don't have an Android Market account registered with, so we'll be able to see that. So I'm signing into the account, and then this would let you sign up for an Android Market account. You see here that you have to create a developer profile, pay a $25 fee using Google Checkout, and then you agree to the agreement. And you fill out your information here. And if you finish this, would let you get that API key that you'd be able to use in your license manager. So let's go ahead and look at my account that I actually have registered here, and I'll show you how to upload your application. Okay, so now when I sign in here, it brings me to my developer console here, and I can see my applications. And then what we can do inside here is actually let me show you the API key. So inside here we have our public key. This is the public key that you can use for the licensing manager, and then this is where you set up your test responses for your license. But what we're interested in for this module, or for this section, is to figure out how to upload an application. So if you go to this Upload Application tab, it's actually pretty straightforward, but I'm going to go over some of these fields because it was a bit confusing to me when I first did this. So you basically go to your APK file, and we'll just pretend like we're going to do this here. We'll go to Android, and then we'll pick our Protein Tracker APK. And then you would normally click Upload here. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then while that's going here, then you would need 2 screenshots for your application. So you need to be prepared with this. And it's got the screenshot sizes here. What I use for the screenshots is I just go inside of Eclipse, and then there's a screenshot that you can take here of the emulator. So let me show you that real quick. So if we go into this DDMS view, we've actually got to go to the devices view here. And then here we have this screen capture. And you can get a screen capture of whatever the emulator is currently showing. That's a good way to get the screenshots for your application. So let's move on to the next sites here. So you get your 2 screenshots, a high resolution application icon. So note that this is a 512 by 512. This is actually used in the Android Marketplace. If you've gone to the web store, you can see there's big banners, and that's what that's actually used for. And then there's some optional things. And I would really recommend, especially if you're selling your application, filling out all of these things that are optional, simply because it's going to make it much more likely that Google would pick up your app for advertising in its marketplace, and it's going to make it a lot nicer for someone looking at your application and deciding whether or not to buy it if they have some of these things, if it looks more professional. And so you're going to have some work cut out for you for getting all these image sizes, but it's probably worth taking the time to invest and do that. And then setting up a promotional video, I also recommend doing that, just so someone can have a walkthrough of seeing how to use your app. So the next important section here is this listing details. And you can set up different languages here, and this will be the languages that your application will be listed in, not what it's necessarily localized in. So you can, for some of my applications, I just go ahead and set it up for all of these, even though it's not localized in all of these languages, because you have to use your judgment here, but your application may not really suffer from not being localized. If it's very obvious the use of it, for example, a game, it doesn't really matter if it is localized in that language for certain games that don't have a lot of text. So this would make it appear in those Android Market stores. You can also automatically localize all of this text here. So you fill out your title, description, you can fill out just a quick description of your application. Recent changes when you update your application, you usually fill this in. And then some promo text that they'll use for advertising potentially. And then you choose either applications or games, and then you can choose your category here. And then, if you fill in some text here, let's put in some test text, and then you click add language. And if I were to put French here, it would actually give me the option to automatically change these. Once you fill in this whole thing, it will give you that option. But you can also select it. Notice how when I select French here, it lets me put in a description in French. So you can put in all the different localizations for each one of these things, and you can put different ones for each, which is kind of a nice feature here. And then the final thing here is this publishing options. Now, the copy protection we had talked about before, this is the old way. If you've implemented the license manager, you don't need to do this anymore, and you're going to want to leave this on off. And you notice here that on the on setting, it says that it's going to be deprecated soon and use the licensing service instead. And some of the restrictions here increase the amount of memory on the phone required to install the application, and some things that can't be installed to SD card. You can fill out your content rating, as that's applicable, and then whether or not it's free or paid application, you've set a default price. So if we made this a paid application and we charge $1, and then I can click autofill here, and then it's going to automatically set my prices in all of these other localizations. So that's kind of a nice feature. Only problem is you're going to have to remember that these are fluctuating and change. So you might have to come in here every once in a while and then re-click this to re-auto-generate this. Otherwise, the prices may end up being pretty far off from $1 US. Then you put in your contact information and phone number. You can click these consent forms and then click save if you want to come back and publish it later. This is useful if you, for example, you need these images, but you can fill in most of this stuff. And then if you hit publish, it's going to go out there immediately. And then the same process you use for updating your application, you can basically just upload a new APK and you update the version inside your app. So if we go into our protein tracker application here and we go into our manifest file, you'll see that we have a version code and version name, and you always need to increment this every time that you publish out there in order to put out a new version of your application. And that's really all there is to it, to deploying your Android application out there in the marketplace. Once you complete this and hit publish, it'll be out there and ready for anyone to use.